All right, today we're jumping into one of the most pressing public health crises of our time, opioid addiction. We're going to distill the key insights from the book, A Concise Guide to Opioid Addiction for Counselors, to really understand how this epidemic works from the inside out. Let's start with the central, terrifying paradox of this addiction.
Wow. I mean, that quote just says it all, doesn't it? It gets right to the heart of the problem. You've got this substance that is incredibly hard to quit, but it's deceptively, shockingly easy to get hooked on in the first place. It's that exact trap that has caught millions of people.
So, to really get a handle on this crisis, we can't just look at the stats. First, we need to understand what it actually feels like from the inside. What is that initial pull? And what does the terrifying need for the drug really feel like for someone going through it? See, the initial experience isn't some chaotic, out of control high. It's described as this profound sense of peace. It's a feeling where everything just becomes beautiful. All your pain, whether it's physical or emotional, it just vanishes. And that's the deceptive paradise that pulls people in. And just like that, the paradise becomes a prison. The book uses this powerful analogy to explain the craving. Think about it. This isn't just a want. It's a primal, all-consuming need. But unlike hunger, which you measure in days, this need operates on a timeline of mere hours. Everything else, your job, your family, your own survival, it all just fades into the background. And here's the really devastating part. That personal, harrowing experience we just talked about, it's not an isolated story. It's being repeated millions of times over across the country. So now, let's pull back from that one story to see the staggering statistics that reveal the true scale of this epidemic. Just look at this number, 70,237. That's not a typo. That's how many Americans died from drug overdoses in a single year, 2017. It's a number so huge, it's honestly hard to even wrap your head around. And to put that number into perspective, and this is just shocking, more Americans died from overdoses in that 1 year than the total number of American soldiers who died during the entire Vietnam War. This isn't just a public health issue, it's a catastrophe on a historic scale. So, what's behind these deaths? Well, this chart makes it crystal clear. The primary driver here is opioids. They account for roughly 2/3 of all drug overdose fatalities. This is the absolute heart of the crisis. Okay, so a disaster of this size doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. You have to ask, how on earth did we get here? Let's take a look at the origins, because it was really a perfect storm of medical practice and the chemistry of the drugs themselves. You know, the origin story is almost disturbingly simple. Back in the late 1990s, pharmaceutical companies went on a big push to reassure the medical community that these new opioid painkillers were safe and, get this, not addictive. Doctors, trusting that information, started prescribing them at higher and higher rates. And that set the stage for the absolute crisis we're facing today. So let's break it down really quick. What are opioids anyway? Well, at their core, they're depressants. They work by slowing down your central nervous system, and that's what creates that feeling of pain relief and euphoria we talked about. They basically come in 3 flavors: natural ones, like morphine, semi-synthetic ones, like oxycodone, and then purely synthetic ones, like fentanyl. Okay, so we've seen what it feels like for a person, and we've seen the massive national scale of the problem. Now let's switch gears and get a little more clinical. How do professionals actually define and diagnose opioid addiction? Because understanding this is crucial for treatment. The official term you'll hear is opioid use disorder, or OUD for short. And that key phrase right there, clinically significant impairment or distress, that's everything. This isn't about casual use. This is about when the drug use starts causing real, measurable harm in a person's life. So what does that harm actually look like? Well, the diagnosis is based on a few key signs. We're talking about losing control, where the drug basically calls the shots. We're talking about intense, persistent cravings that just crowd everything else out. It's when obligations at work, school, or home start falling by the wayside. And maybe most importantly, it's continuing to use even when you know it's causing serious problems, alongside the physical signs like building a tolerance and going through withdrawal. And here's a really fascinating and kind of chilling physical sign. While a lot of other drugs cause your pupils to dilate or get bigger, opioids do the exact opposite. They cause them to constrict, becoming almost pinpoint. It's a key physical indicator that helps distinguish opioid intoxication.
After hearing all of that, it would be so easy to feel pretty hopeless. But there is a path forward. There's been a real evolution in how we approach counseling and treatment, and it offers real, tangible hope for recovery.
The way we approach treatment has gone through a fundamental shift. Gone are the days of those confrontational, in-your-face interventions you see in the movies. We now know that stuff doesn't really work and can actually be harmful. The modern, evidence-based way is collaborative. It's all about working with the person, not against them, to build trust and find a path forward together. At the end of the day, it all boils down to one word: empowerment. The whole point of modern addiction counseling is to give people, their families, and their communities the tools and the autonomy to figure out what wellness looks like for them and then go achieve it. The path is theirs to choose. So I want to leave you with this final thought. Everything we've looked at paints addiction as this disease born from despair and pain. But it also shows us a clear path forward, one that's built on collaboration and empowerment. And it just makes you wonder, if addiction really is a disease of despair, then what role does hope play in the cure?